I believe somebody mentioned that they seen a video with me and the dude Prodigy or one of the dudes from my deep, as if I was with. They don't know the backdrop of that. I went to his hotel room ready to fight. Like, bro, I'll fight everybody in that room one on one. Even if I lose, it doesn't matter. The Outlaws was with me. My homie Tiny, the Mexican homie, was with me. I didn't go there and say, let me get in a video with these guys. I went there knocking on their door, doom, doom, doom. Tell them dudes to come out. What's up with your what's up with your Pop? You got a problem with Pop? Because we could just fight like man to man, face to face, and then shake hands. That was my approach with them. But when they told me they didn't have no problem, I don't mind being with you. You know what I mean? I don't mind shaking your hand because they told me they had love for Pop. So that's different. You know what I mean? If he come out and say, well, I already, I questioned Puffy about it. I believe that he didn't, he loved Pop. That's my opinion. I can move the way I want to move. So when people try to, I noticed somebody, I think on your page do that. Well, Napoleon was in the video with Mobb Deep. They don't know how I got in that video with Mobb Deep. You know what I mean? I pulled up on him but I'm the type of person, I never been a bully type of person. You know what I mean? If I talk to a person like a man and they tell me face to face, look, I got love for Pop, I'm comfortable to know if I can look in their eyes and if I believe what they said, I have the right to say, okay, no problem. I believe you. You know what I mean? And maybe that's what Snoop went through. I don't know. But let the people know because it was too early back then. Pop just had died. You know what I mean? Like he had the right to say, the reason why I'm rolling with Puffy, I questioned him about my homie. He gave me this answer. So then he did what he had to do. But it just, you know what I mean? I never really agree with that, to be honest. The same way I couldn't be on the stage with him. When they wanted to do that tribute, I just couldn't do it. Like I really felt in my heart, like, man, I can't believe this.
Snoop Dogg's name is everywhere online right now, connected to one of hip-hop's most explosive scandals. But here's what nobody's telling you. He isn't actually involved. When Netflix released that devastating Diddy documentary produced by 50 Cent in December 2025, the internet didn't stop at going after Puff. They started throwing around names that never even appeared in the film, and Snoop's topped that list. So what's the real story here? And why is a West Coast legend suddenly being treated like he's hiding something?
Diddy was doing a documentary thinking he was going to come out triumphant.
Yeah, I didn't know that's how this started. Is he started filming himself and getting this footage because he thought he was going to beat everything. Okay,
Diddy
that makes sense. Okay,
has a relationship
with Netflix. I knew that
with
Ted Sarandis. I saw that. Yes. Okay.
And he's filming it there, but of course, when you get, obviously it wasn't a clean sweep on the prosecutor's side, but you're still going to prison.
Yeah.
He basically kind of scraps it. It's not also Netflix is saying, because they commissioned it, right? Netflix is saying, all right, cool, just turn over what you got. And what we'll do, we'll make it what it is because we're just following reality. Diddy's like, well, hold on now. If I lost the case, I'm down to still do it with you, but I got to be able to control it. Now, Diddy was probably going to kind of shape this doc to make it look like, hey, this was malicious prosecution. They kind of went really hard at me. Mm-hmm. I'm not a perfect guy, but I am a good guy.
Yeah.
And Diddy was like, I need to be able to craft it. And Netflix was like, no, you're not. And he's like,
well, my question is, did he sign the footage over to Netflix so they own it? Mm-mm. Like, how were they able to do this without his?
No, but he didn't pay for it. So essentially, they're calling it a payment error. Oh. So essentially, the deal falls apart, or he's like, yeah, we're not going to do this.
So awkward.
And the people who did the work that have all this footage, they're like, so wait, you told us to film because this is going to be on Netflix. Now you're saying Netflix doesn't exist and we're not getting paid because Diddy was going to pay with Netflix money. And Netflix realized this and they went to the filmers and said, hey.
Let's go back to how this madness actually kicked off. Netflix unleashed Sean Combs' The Reckoning in December 2025, and it was ruthless, completely centered on Diddy's alleged offenses, his federal indictment, and decades of rumors finally spoken aloud. But here's what gets overlooked. The documentary itself didn't mention Snoop Dogg even once. So why is his name blowing up next to words like terrified and caught? Because 50 Cent didn't just make a documentary. He reportedly swooped in and purchased footage that Diddy had originally paid for. Word is, Diddy contracted a videographer years back to capture behind-the-scenes moments, then stiffed him on payment. That videographer? He flipped around and sold the whole archive to 50, who delivered it straight to Netflix. Diddy's lawyers cried foul. Netflix maintained everything was legally acquired. And the online world? They convinced themselves that if 50 possessed secret recordings, there must be more celebrity names buried in those tapes.
Support.
We're going to look at this through the prism of a modern-day rhetorical genius. A modern-day rhetorical genius. We're talking about the one, the great, the 50 Cent. All right. This guy's skill at rhetoric is absolutely next level. And this totally ties in with, how he famously is a big fan of Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Now, rhetoric with a capital R, I can just give you the definition of that. That's basically public speech, particularly public speech that is to persuade. Any persuasive public speech is rhetoric, right? Now, we kind of break that down into two subcategories of rhetoric with a lowercase r and dialectic. Rhetoric is essentially everything else. And really, what moves the needle with like 97% of people and 100% of groups, okay, is, in fact, rhetoric with the lowercase r. So again, stuff like this, 50 Cent is an absolute master of. Basically, he dropped this doc, this 50, this Sean Puffy Combs doc, and it's just kind of set the internet on fire. It's beating out Stranger Things. Like, it's a wild ride to watch, right? And one of the things that he does is he breaks down Diddy's character on Diddy's own terms.
That's when things really spiraled out of control. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard who's been giving interviews for years, began dropping cryptic hints throughout late 2024 and into early 2025. He wouldn't actually say Snoop's name, but he'd mention shielded celebrities and recordings certain people pray you never see, and major figures who'll blow your mind. That was enough. Clickbait YouTube creators and Twitter conspiracy threads went nuclear with guesswork, transforming vague insinuations into blaring headlines like Snoop Dogg implicated in Diddy case or what's Snoop hiding. The reality? Zero substance behind any of it. No recordings, no witness statements, no court filings, just old history and closeness being microwaved for engagement.
Name.
Because he wanted them to, both Suge and Pac.
In the car?
They only Pac, and they don't Suge. So allegedly, they got paid $500,000. The $500,000 was paid to the guy on the right, all the way to the right. You see the guy on the right, Corey? He's the one allegedly that got the $500,000, and that money never went to Keefe D or anybody else. The guy on the left is the one that stole the chain, the chain, which was a Death Row Records chain. That's a way of saying I got your rapper's chain, because if you were one of the guys, Death Row. So long story short, this whole thing is a recording that he said this. So what does Diddy do? Rob, can you pull up this song? It's a song called Black Rob, featuring Mark Curry and Mario Winans. If you can just type in lyrics, okay? So he gets $1 million. Can you go to the lyrics? And Diddy's in the lyrics when he gets started. Go a little bit lower. Can you type in the word in there, Rob? Nice guy. Type Control F, nice guy. Okay, right there. Look at it's 1999. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Been nice too long. I'm just going to start making y'all disappear. Man, first I'm going to take your records off the radio. Then I'm going to erase your social security number. Take your birth certificate out flies. I'm going to do your whole effing family. Ain't nothing but mercy. And then, by the way, in the lyrics, he says, I'll drop $1 million on your head to erase you. Can you type in, I'll drop $1 million? Just put Control F. Just go to Google and type this out. I'll drop $1 million on your head. I'll drop $1 million on your head and just put Diddy next to it. Right there. See, it says BlackRock. What song came up?
Phrase.
I'll drop $1 million on your head. Erase you and your whole family, biatch.
Wow.
He's saying it in the song on what he did to get rid of Tupac.
But wait, because it gets even stranger. Early in 2025, a guy named Courtney Burgess took the stand before a grand jury talking about 11 flash drives he alleged originated from Kim Porter, Diddy's deceased former partner. He claimed these drives held recordings of famous people in questionable scenarios at Diddy's gatherings, and that minors were allegedly present in some content. Thing is, Kim Porter's actual children stepped forward and flat out rejected any notion that their mom left behind some tell-all memoir or hidden evidence. But the cat was already out of the bag. Content creators online began inventing their own suspect lists, and Snoop's name kept surfacing despite Burgess never uttering it, federal authorities never verifying the drives existed, and absolutely zero authenticated recordings ever materializing. This is the blueprint for false information. Someone whispers supposedly, a dozen others echo it minus the qualifier, and before long it's being accepted as established truth.
Urged Snoop Dogg.
For being out there and allowing Misa to come out there to make money, however she was doing it, to feed her family. He vowed down that it's like, yo, I ain't never fucking with her again, and I ain't never fucking with him again. Puff and Suge had a conversation behind the House of Blues about was we all right, and Tupac was alive. Tupac wasn't dead. So if it was a war, Suge ain't having no conversation with Puff about we good. I know he could be doing the Hoboken hustle, trying to fool a brother. But had he killed my man or something like that, I wouldn't have no conversation with Puff. I'd been like, yo, you know what y'all niggas done? You know what happened? And it wasn't no conversation like that, brother. It wasn't no conversation whereas that, Suge made Puff feel like I'm going to get you a payback for what happened to Jake. This was more so that Puff, for whatever reason, Suge, for whatever reason he was mad at Puff, and Puff, for whatever reason he was mad at Suge, it was between them two. It wasn't no whole East Coast wanted the West Coast dead, and the West Coast wanted East Coast to dead, because they still was going out, still chilling, still at places with each other. It was Bad Boy, and it was Death Row. It wasn't no East Coast and no West Coast. West Coast dudes were still coming out on the East Coast getting love. East Coast niggas was still going out on the West Coast getting love. It was Bad Boy versus Death Row. And that's what it was, bro. And it was because of the two CEOs. But Suge tried to straighten it out. I got to get at the Suge. The Death Row East Coast, the Death Row East was going to bring in Eric B. It was going to bring in Big D. And those brothers was from the East Coast. So now, they was looking for a representative to come to the meeting from Bad Boy so they could straighten out the between Pac and Big and Death Row and Bad Boy. And Puff is the one who refused. Puff is the one to refuse to send a representative or either come himself. And got mad at zipping them because they were in the Mirage on 57th Street partying with Suge Knight. Got mad at them. And Zip hung up the phone on him behind that.
Then Suge Knight threw fuel on an already raging blaze. Back in February 2025, speaking from behind bars, Suge jumped on a podcast claiming Snoop tried posting bail for Keef D, the individual facing charges in Tupac Shakur's murder. He insisted Snoop had turned his back on Tupac by socializing with Diddy right after Pac was gurney, and that he's now quietly assisting the opposition. Suge's been recycling variations of these accusations for years, but this round hit different thanks to the Diddy documentary creating fresh buzz. Folks began connecting imaginary lines, treating Snoop's past association with Diddy like it proved involvement in something criminal. Let's get the facts straight, though. Suge Knight has lobbed allegations at Snoop ever since their death row split in the late 90s, and law enforcement has never once brought charges against Snoop concerning Tupac's demise or the Keef D situation. Snoop fired back, dismissing it as fabrications from a resentful former business partner, still bitter about his collapsed kingdom, and the track record supports him. These aren't fresh accusations. They're recycled grievances dressed up for today's crowd.
Just got out the gym, doing my workout box. Suge, you right. History would repeat itself. Cause nigga, you wasn't the only nigga in the room, nigga. You wasn't by yourself. It was other people in the room too. I'm not gonna say no names, cause like you said, we don't talk. So why you on here talking? Let that go, man. And as far as Snoop and Corrupt writing my album, you ask them niggas that. Them niggas ain't wrote my album. Corrupt helped me with Do You See? Snoop helped me with This DJ. Other than that, everything else I wrote. So that's where you wrong at again. And as far as the tough guy, do you recall when we was at the World Club and it said Death Row and NWA? Who fired on that? Me. When you was at the Comedy Store, fighting that little buff ass at the Comedy Store, who saved your motherfucking ass? Me and C-Style. So what have I done to you? For you to launch out at me? Look, don't get mad at me, man. I ain't never done nothing to you. I wasn't signed to you.
Which brings us to that Steve Harvey Show moment everyone keeps bringing up. Way back, following Tupac's passing, Snoop shared a stage with Diddy during an episode addressing the whole East versus West tension. Back then, certain voices in hip-hop circles wondered if that disrespected Pac's legacy. And Suge's camp absolutely saw it that way. But here's what people conveniently forget. The coastal rivalry was largely manufactured drama, pushed by media outlets, and tons of artists worked across both regions without problems. Dr. Dre collaborated with East Coast talent. Ice Cube linked up with New York musicians. And this notion that simply appearing alongside someone from the opposite coast branded you a sellout? That's simplified revisionist history being exploited in 2025. Snoop never concealed his connection to Diddy during those years, and no legitimate authority has ever pointed fingers at him regarding Tupac's TR at GIC end. Yet somehow, come December 2025, people began treating a 2-decade-old television appearance like it was damning proof.
Just got out the gym, doing my workout box. Suge, you right. History would repeat itself. Cause nigga, you wasn't the only nigga in the room, nigga. You wasn't by yourself. It was other people in the room too. I'm not gonna say no names, cause like you said, we don't talk. So why you on here talking? Let that go, man. And as far as Snoop and Corrupt writing my album, you ask them niggas that. Them niggas ain't wrote my album. Corrupt helped me with Do You See? Snoop helped me with This DJ. Other than that, everything else I wrote. So that's where you wrong at again. And as far as the tough guy, do you recall when we was at the World Club and it said Death Row and NWA? Who fired on that? Me. When you was at the Comedy Store, fighting that little buff ass at the Comedy Store, who saved your motherfucking ass? Me and C-Staff. So what have I done to you? For you to launch out at me? Look, don't get mad at me, man. I ain't never done nothing to you. I wasn't signed to you. So
The difference between Snoop Dogg and Diddy right now isn't popularity, it's evidence. Diddy's conviction was the result of years of investigation, sworn testimony, and documented legal findings. Snoop Dogg's situation, by contrast, is built entirely on association and speculation. As of December 2025, federal updates confirm there are no charges, no indictments, and no active cases involving Snoop Dogg. That distinction matters. In an era when powerful figures are being held accountable, silence from law enforcement does not signal protection, it signals an absence of proof. The industry is undeniably being shaken, but not everyone caught in the tremors is guilty. And when rumor is confused with reality, it doesn't strengthen the truth, it weakens it, especially when accountability truly matters.
In a documentary, there's a couple things I'll share with you guys on what I took away from it. But Rob, maybe share the clip on how he got access to some of the footage of the documentary. Is this the one, Rob?
Yep.
Go for it.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figure most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day. Perhaps.
Combs' team firing back in a statement to NBC News, saying the Netflix so-called documentary is a shameful hit piece and that they relied on stolen footage that was never authorized for release. This team sending a cease and desist to Netflix.
So that doesn't mean it's not true.
Of course.
But they relied on stolen footage, okay, is what they relied on. And then they ask about the history of 50 and him, issue that they've had. What's the one you just pulled up, Rob?
This is where they talk about the feud, and then I also have 50 Cent talking about Diddy's reaction to the documentary.
Yeah, that's so funny. That is so funny. But watch this one here. Go ahead, Rob.
How do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester, like maybe you'll come play with me type of thing, right? And it's not personal.
I think it's important to also let people know that the show is not completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean. We weren't trying to just get the highlights, the salacious details, that the real goal was to storytell. And not everyone needed to have an allegation to be a part of this project.
Yeah, I mean, so that's that part, right? The fact that the feud with the two of them, hey, let me take you shopping. Like, you say that to a girl in 50s, like, what are you talking about? Take me shopping. How do you have a flipping mind? You want to take me shopping? And then last but not least, Rob, the other clip you have of 50 is talking about how he thinks Diddy's going to like this documentary. Go ahead, Rob.
Sean Combs watches this. What do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time.
She can't even hold it.
Because you'll see people saying that. I mean, he may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but he knows the truth. I think he'll.
So what was Snoop's actual response when this whole circus exploded? Back in May 2025, well ahead of the documentary's premiere, he sat for an interview saying he was really surprised by the revelations emerging about Diddy. But there was no freakout, no vanishing act, no desperate scrubbing of his online presence. Once the Netflix project launched in December, Snoop openly backed 50 Cent, praising the work as meaningful for hip-hop culture. He kept operating his Death Row Records ventures, appeared at public functions, continued posting content online as if nothing shifted. Because from his perspective, nothing actually had. The digital mob sat there anticipating some dramatic breakdown or admission, but it never materialized. And that lack of reaction? People warped it into evidence of wrongdoing. Here's reality, though. When you genuinely aren't connected to something, you don't owe strangers a theatrical display of your innocence. This represents the risky territory we've entered collectively. Diddy's legal situation, his legitimate federal accusations, the property searches, the witness accounts, the multi-year probe, all that rests on concrete evidence. Snoop's alleged connection? That's constructed purely from proximity, dusty rumors courtesy of Suge Knight, and the internet's hunger to identify additional bad guys in the narrative. Here in December 2025, there exist no criminal charges against Snoop Dogg, no federal probe listing him as someone of interest, no authenticated recordings tying him to anything unlawful, and no trustworthy testimony placing him within any of Diddy's supposed wrongdoing. Being near something doesn't make you complicit. But in our current climate of viral sensationalism and algorithm-fed rage, that crucial difference vanishes quickly. Whenever powerful figures collapse, everyone in their orbit becomes questionable, but that doesn't establish their culpability. The actual narrative here has nothing to do with Snoop Dogg whatsoever. It's really about how a cryptic comment from a former security detail, combined with unconfirmed whispers about mystery drives, plus ancient hostility from an incarcerated adversary, can balloon into a widely accepted storyline that millions treat as factual, despite lacking even a shred of proof. Gene Deal dropped hints. Courtney Burgess spoke about drives nobody's verified. Suge Knight yelled from his cell, and the internet handled the rest. Meanwhile, the guy supposedly at the heart of it simply continued his regular existence. Because what other choice do you have when the accusations don't hold up to basic scrutiny? So here's what everyone's ignoring. If genuine recordings existed, if actual proof was out there, if prosecutors had a legitimate case involving Snoop Dogg, why hasn't one federal investigator, district attorney, or respected journalist produced it? Why does all this stem exclusively from online shows, trending hashtags, and individuals nursing personal vendettas? The documentary that supposedly ignited everything never identified him. The official legal paperwork makes no reference to him. Federal authorities haven't shown up at his residence. Still, his reputation's getting destroyed as though he's already been found guilty of something. Perhaps the genuine controversy isn't whatever Snoop may or may not have done. It's how rapidly we're ready to assume the absolute worst about somebody simply because the internet's algorithm determined it was their moment to be sacrificed.